my water just broke. I felt like things really intensified.
She was right there and she was coming.
It was an amazing feeling.
I'm going to cry just thinking about it. I could feel her head.
We heard her cry. We were squeezing hands and she was screaming.
I'm Bryn Hunt Palmer, and you're listening to The Birth Hour. This podcast is designed as a safe place to come together and share childbirth stories. Stick around and join us to hear informative and empowering birth journeys from all over the world. If you're new to The Birth Hour, you may not know that we have an online childbirth course that is evidence-based. It includes 12 modules that take you from your final weeks of pregnancy through obviously preparing for birth and then postpartum and feeding your baby as well. And with enrollment in that course, which is called Know Your Options, you'll get free access to our other course called Beyond the First Latch, where we talk all about pumping, feeding baby, storing milk, going back to paid work if that's part of your plan, all of those things as well. Okay, so if you go to thebirthhour.com/course, you can see everything laid out in the course, module by module, as well as an FAQ section, which will hopefully answer some of your questions if you have any, things like how to get it covered by an FSA account and things like that. It also talks about the bonuses that come with the course, including bi-monthly Zoom calls and access to our private Facebook group. So again, that's thebirthhour.com/course. And you can use the coupon code 100OFF for $100 off enrollment as a podcast listener. We would also love to welcome you into our listener supporter group via Patreon. That's at patreon.com/birthhour. And by becoming a Patreon supporter, you get access to all of our archived episodes. This podcast launched in 2015, so we have over 800 episodes in the archives that are not in the main podcast feed. So you can get your fill of birth stories. And you'll also get access to our private Facebook group for Patreon members, which is a great place to honestly just to search the past posts to get answers to questions, but then of course to ask new questions, find community. It's a really, really great supportive group of people. So I highly recommend joining that. We would love to have you there. We also do monthly Zoom calls with our Patreon supporters, and you get an opportunity to enter your birth story via a different submission form than everyone else uses, and we choose 2 Patreon members each month to share their birth stories. So that is again at patreon.com/birthhour. Oh, and Patreon just added the option to gift a membership. So if you go to patreon.com/birthhour/gift, that will take you to that screen if you want to send it to someone who needs a gift idea for you, or you want to gift it to someone else. Today's episode is in partnership with Joy, a safety-forward, affordable, and globally recognized baby gear brand that specializes in stylish car seats, strollers, and in-home products rooted in European design and made for all parents in all life stages. Not only is Joy the #1 car seat brand in the UK, but they're making waves in the US with their innovative car seats like the Mint Latch infant car seat that doesn't need a base, and their Chili Spin 360, which rotates towards you to make it so easy to put your children in their car seat and take them out. I recently got to test out the Chili Spin 360, and it is so cool. It has so many neat features, and the spinning feature is amazing for both rear facing and front facing later on. It's really a car seat that's going to take you from newborn through, I think it goes up to 65 pounds. So it's kind of crazy how long you can use this and how well it's designed. I'll talk more about all the little features that I like at the end of this episode. After the birth story today, I'm also going to tell you how you can get a major discount on this car seat during the current car seat trade-in event at Target. So make sure you listen to that after the birth story. Today's birth story guest features Claire Smith, who happens to be Joy's dedicated child passenger safety technician, or CPST for short, and is responsible for helping Joy's engineers stay ahead of the newest car seat safety standards and supporting parents and caregivers with accurately choosing the right car seat for their child and using it properly. Hi, Claire. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Absolutely. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear your birth story. But before we get to that, can you tell listeners just a little bit about you and your family?
Absolutely. So I am a child passenger safety advocate for the car seat brand Joy. And I have got 2 kiddos. My daughter is 7 and my son is 10. And we are right outside of the DC area up in Northern Virginia.
All right. And we're going to hear your daughter's story today, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Well, just go ahead and take us to pregnancy. Anything you want to share from pregnancy and preparing for birth?
Absolutely. So, I was very thankful. I had two fairly straightforward, easy pregnancies. My birth too with my first child, my son, really was honestly very straightforward. I had done all of my research ahead of time. I knew what I wanted in terms of largely going unmedicated. I have an absolute fear of needles. I do my best to donate blood every 8 weeks, but man, oh man, I am a complete wuss about it. I've got one lady I go to. So I knew an epidural largely was not something that I wanted to have as part of my personal birth plan. So I found a group of midwives. First child, again, very straightforward. It was about a 7-hour labor and delivery, no real issues. Everything was great. So by the time the second one came around, I thought I absolutely knew what I wanted as well. And really, it came down to even less of any type of intervention, any type of assistance than I wanted at all. So really, I had asked that they not even do any real physical checks of me as long as everything seemed to be moving along well. So both of my births started overnight, which was absolutely fantastic. So woke up middle of the night having contractions. Had to obviously call in childcare because my son was at home with us. And so started timing the contractions, and it turned out as soon as I had woken up, I was about 5 minutes apart with contractions already.
Okay.
So put a call into our midwives, and they've got somebody who is on call. And I did deliver both times in a hospital setting, but with a midwife there.
Okay.
And they largely were instructing me that it was probably time to head in toward the hospital. Our hospital that we gave birth at, it was about an hour away. So said, absolutely, just got to get somebody here to take care of my son. We will be right there. So meanwhile, everything's advancing fairly quickly. I knew that I tended to progress a lot faster in terms of labor when I was standing up versus if I were sitting down or lying down. So while we were waiting for my parents to get here in order to take care of my son, I very much kind of decided to sit down, make sure that I wasn't really standing. So that way I could try and slow things down just a bit, because it was quickly apparent that my daughter was going to make her way out into this world quite quickly.
Yeah. And did that help laying down?
It did, thankfully. I unfortunately worried my poor midwife a good bit. She was very concerned about how long it was going to take us to get there. So eventually my parents got here. Of course, felt like forever in the time. And so we headed off to the hospital, and thankfully, again, sitting in the car, things slowed down a little bit. We got to the hospital and were whisked right back into the room. Proceeded to try and stay standing really for as long as I possibly could. And very quickly, my body, started pushing on its own. Everything was working as I had hoped. We did one kind of physical check. I was fully dilated, ready to go. So started pushing, and everything, again, really was going the way that I had anticipated. Everything seemed right on cue. Knew what my body was doing this time. It really was so much easier going through it a second time, just in terms of knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
So I really felt, in charge of what was happening with my body. It felt like such a great experience again. I knew she was coming much, much faster. So eventually got into a lying down position. I was kind of on my side, and it became apparent that really, she was coming quite quickly. So we were at this point, it was just under 3 hours into labor and delivery, and pushing, everything is fine. And all of a sudden I was taking a break, take a breath in between all that good pushing. And my midwife informed me, that we're not taking a break right now. You need to push, and you kind of need to push right this second. So this was when things took a bit of a turn for the dramatic, and they ended up hitting the code button while I was still pushing. And it was, I think, more than anything, so traumatic for my poor husband because they did not have time right then to inform him as to what was going on. And thankfully, it was, I always think of the code button as somebody really being in distress of their life. So like looking back, especially knowing that everything turned out okay, it felt, so intense at the time, but largely my daughter had gotten stuck. So she had, the shoulder dystocia where her shoulders just wouldn't physically fit out right then. So they had hit that code button and all of the nurses on the floor at that time came pouring into the room. We were suddenly in a room with like 10 people around me. My husband largely got, pushed up way up toward my head, like, hey, go and take a step back and everything because we are coming in. And everyone then kind of pushed directly on me and popped her out.
Like pushed on your stomach?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
everyone up at the top of my abdomen really gave a good shove and then finally, got that good whoosh and she was here. So truly, it was only about 3 hours start to finish, and she was there with us, which seemed great at the time. Thankfully, we didn't have any negative repercussions either with the shoulder dystocia. There were no broken bones. They looked her over, of course, very quickly afterward. And it seemed, again, like no big negative effects. So we were very, very, very thankful for all of that. And proceeded, over to recovery. Again, everything seemed fine. She took to breastfeeding right away. No major issues. I was obviously a little banged up after the fact. Recovery with this second time around was a lot longer than the first one. First one really just felt like I had kind of snapped back, but second one took a lot longer. Definitely was a lot more to deal with having had her get a bit stuck in there. But then the night turned even more exciting because she ended up getting put into the NICU it was about 36 hours at the end of the day. So usually I liked to leave the hospital, fairly early after giving birth. I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get home and kind of recover where I was comfortable.
Yeah.
And they had taken my daughter, and apparently it was just an issue with not being in the birth canal for long enough, not really getting that good squeeze of her lungs to get all of the liquid out. So she was running a bit of a fever. Her white blood cell count was high. They were going to proactively put her in the NICU for a bit just to give her a bit of an antibiotic to make sure that she kicked anything. There wasn't any major concerns from the get-go. So off she went. I think that was the worst part, was having to have, your newborn taken away from you a good couple of hours postpartum. That was definitely a lot to deal with, but it was crazy seeing her in that NICU. So she was 9 pounds, 4 ounces when she was born, and easily dwarfed a lot of these other kids in the NICU by about, twice the size. So
yeah,
my poor kid is sitting there with these big giant cheeks, and there's all these teeny tiny little newborns. Yes, with all the different monitors and stuff. So thankfully, it was a very short stay. She quickly stabilized. All was fine. Again, eating like a pro. She had that bit down from the get-go, and they were able to discharge us. We spent about 3 days total in the hospital. Once everything was stable with her, we got to get out and go home, which was really great. It's amazing how it seems like a lot of these different birth stories, how that kid comes into the world is kind of how they attack life. So I always joke that she has never deviated from how she came into the world. That is her to a T. She absolutely just continues to attack life still. So,
and how was did your postpartum experience differ from your first with having that short NICU stay, and how did breastfeeding go and that sort of thing?
So thankfully, breastfeeding was relatively straightforward. She had what we thought was a tongue tie at a bit, which threw me for a loop. My first had really no issues. And a relatively easy breastfeeding experience overall. Our main thing with her is, everybody at that point in time, all of the kind of what felt almost like hysteria over tongue and lip ties was so intense.
Was it the Washington Post that published something? Or
yes,
yeah,
it was a
I remember
huge
that
thing. And so I had seen a couple of lactation consultants, and they were directing us, oh, you've got to go to this particular dentist. They're the only one who can do the laser tongue tie reversal and all this stuff. And I was so concerned. We went, we had the consult, and I actually got in with my, our general practitioner is the one who's seen both of my kids from the start. And I was talking to her about it, and she was like, oh, and you're doing what? And I was informing her as to like how all of the laser tongue tie reversal is supposed to go and everything, and the exercises after. And she, thankfully, has always been just a very level-headed personality, very commonsensical, and asked me if she was having any issues breastfeeding, any issues gaining weight. And I said, no, she just she makes like a clacking noise every once in a while. And so she was like, so maybe you wait and we don't do this right away. And for some reason, that was one of those thoughts that just had never entered my mind that was an option. So yeah, we ended up not going forward with the tongue tie reversal, and thankfully all ended up just fine.
And you weren't having any pain with the nursing either?
I didn't, no, thankfully. So
yeah, that's I mess with something that's working.
But it's just funny because looking back, everybody was immediately like, I felt like it was such a climate of, you needed to take action if there was any suspicion of, it really being a tongue or lip tie and needing to get that reversed. So always happy for kind of those common sense approaches to life. Because I think that ended up being the correct move for her, was not to go forward with that, because really everything worked out fine in the long run. I will say that postpartum with 2 and having a full-time job is always a lot more exciting. Trying to balance that.
Good word.
I think exciting always covers a lot of different issues and difficulties, but so I was very thankful. Our son was at least in preschool at the time, so got a few hours where it was just her and I for a little bit. My husband's paternal leave was only about 2 weeks, so very thankful to have a few hours where it was just the 2 of us for a bit. Yeah. And then, my maternity leave at the time was at least fairly good. I got 16 weeks off. So I got to spend a lot of quality time with her and make sure that I was prepared to go back to.
Yeah. having one child in preschool or school is so nice, and being able to soak up the newborn days. I feel like that was one of the things that my heart just broke for people during COVID that like had that plan, and then everyone was home. It's just like, so hard. It's so hard to give everyone your attention. So
especially when a lot of that newborn time is, you not being able to be as active and down on the floor playing with, especially an older toddler who would like you to engage and build the block tower right now. Yes. Yeah. It's tough with the balance.
Yeah. My 3rd postpartum was actually my best in that sense, because the kids were older. My next youngest was 5, and then the other one was 7. So they could kind of entertain themselves. They were in school, and I just like soaked up that newborn time so much. And it's definitely something that I don't think I did with my first fully, because you're so like stressed about learning how to be a mom.
Oh gosh, the first one is.
Yeah. And then the second one, I had a 19-month-old at home. And so, I always tell people, I'm like, oh, just soak it up if you can. And of course, it's hard. Like, it's not like every moment is this blissful dream. But I enjoyed as much laying in bed with a baby on my chest as possible, and let my husband deal with the other kids and the house stuff.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. No, I think that's the hard thing too, especially for people who are not used to taking the time off like that. I will definitely, I don't idle well. So
I'm the same way.
Yes, because I ended up starting a nonprofit while at home with my second for that postpartum period. But yeah.
Okay. You're like, I have some time off. I'll just start a new business.
I did, yes. But it's one of those things where I think if you're just not accustomed to being able to take that time too, it's always you sitting there looking around being like, all right, I still need to do 5 loads of laundry and walk the dog. And yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to turn your brain off from the to-do list for sure.
Absolutely. Always the laundry.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for sharing your story. Do you have any resources that were helpful to you with either of your pregnancies, births, postpartums?
Largely for me, what I found to be the most useful was a lot of the in-person classes. This was really one of those things too that during COVID, I felt so badly for people who weren't able to have taken advantage of those. But I think really getting to learn about newborn care, to learn about breastfeeding, and even learn about your options as far as childbirth was really, really helpful.
Yeah.
I've got a nonprofit that does car seat check events for caregivers in our community. And there was a couple of times when, especially as we were starting to come out of COVID, we'd be hosting a car seat check event. And I would have expectant parents, first-time parents, pause me as I was showing them, I'd be like, all right, standard newborn hold, stabilize the head, and we're going to put them in this way. And I had a few people, stop and be like, wait, what do you mean standard newborn hold type of thing? So I think as much of the in-person stuff, I was very thankful the hospital that I went to had a lot of different courses available. I am also very much a planner, a prepper. I like to do a lot of research into all the things. So there was always a bunch of books that I read. I think, too, it's important to kind of cast a wide net. I think that's always helpful in deciding what's right for you. That actually was one of the things, too, I wanted to just say. I appreciate how many different types of birth stories you have available through this podcast, because I think it really brings to light that birth can come in so many different methods, so many different choices. And it's really, one of those things where part of it's out of your hands, of course. But
right. I was going to say, you can make all the choices and then it surprises us every time. So
exactly. Always. But it's just nice, like having a resource to make it apparent that there are these different avenues that you can absolutely go down.
Yeah, it's funny when you said about knowing your options. We actually have an online course that's called Know Your Options for childbirth.
Funny.
And COVID was actually a huge boom for us time-wise because of all the in-person ones that closed. But it also, gave us the opportunity to start doing Zoom calls and really finding ways to connect more with our students in real time. And we've continued those today. But yeah, I think that a huge part of the in-person is being able to meet other moms and ask questions and connect. And, we try to facilitate that on Zoom. And for some people it works great because of their schedule and stuff. But of course, the in-person is going to make more sense for other people as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's just nice having resources available again because it's a shame with COVID. It made us very creative, I feel like, in coming up with those online ones. But yeah. Yeah. And then too, I have to put a shout out to that baby list website. That really I found to be very effective, not only in planning for what I needed in terms of bringing baby home as a first time parent, but then also I geeked out fully on those things where it would be like, all right, you're on week, 32, babies the size of, a mango or whatever it is at that point in time.
Yeah, it's fun. All right. Well, and then what's the best way for people to connect with you as far as your story and things like that?
Absolutely. So they can find me online through a couple of different social avenues. I am on both Facebook and Instagram as Joy Baby US CPST. So I am their child passenger safety advocate. They can find me through all of that. And then my email address with them is claire.smith@joybaby.com, JOIEBABY.
Okay. Very cool to know that you're on the other side of that account if people want to reach out about your story and then also about Joy Baby, which we're going to talk about next.
Yes, I am. And really, Joy is a company that has been over in Europe and in the UK for over 13 years now. We are very well known for being the UK's number one car seat for quite some time, but we are very happy to let everyone know that we have recently brought Joy across the pond here to the US. So we actually launched in the US back in August. And we have got a range of things for baby that we are very, very proud of. So we've got a bunch of smart in-home gear. We've got some wearables, the baby carriers. We also have got swings. We have a high chair that we debuted, as well as a bunch of strollers. But we are also have a full line of car seats now available to the market, which I personally am very enthusiastic about as a certified child passenger safety technician.
Yeah. So that's kind of your area of expertise. And I was recently traveling in Europe and I saw Joy everywhere, which was really fun. And I'm excited to be seeing it more and more here in the States. But they're just such beautiful products. And now that I've been able to see the car seat, and play around with the car seat in person, just so well made and everything. So,
I'm glad to hear it.
I'm really excited to partner with you guys on this. So as you mentioned, you are a CPST, which is a car seat safety technician. What's the P?
Yes. Passenger safety technician.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I always forget that one. So tell us a little bit about what that means and how that comes into play with working with Joy.
Gladly. So, child passenger safety technician is something that you can be certified in via what is typically done as a 4-day course. Okay. We have got just about 40,000 CPSTs nationwide. Yes, which is fantastic. We're always looking for more. It's one of those areas that I always feel like was never really part of my prenatal journey as everything car seat. Mm-hmm. So I got certified back when I was actually pregnant with my daughter, and because we got absolutely everything wrong the first time around, and I did not understand how it was that difficult. So now in my role as the child passenger safety advocate with Joy, I get my hands on our car seat products in particular through a variety of different avenues. It's been really wonderful to get to bring some of my real life experience to our product design and engineering teams and actually work with them to try and really make some car seat products that are easier to use. I typically have got caregivers at my different car seat check events who are just kind of left, wondering how the heck they're supposed to know how to use their car seat correctly, it not being always the most intuitive. Quick answer, always read your manual. If anybody out there is having the same issue or find yourself a certified CPST. But really, I think what Joy is bringing to the table here is making something that's not as complicated as some of the other things we've seen in the market. We really want to bring something to our caregivers that is not only style and feature forward, but is at that affordable price point. And again, just makes it a bit more intuitive to be able to get those installs and harnessing of your child right without really having to go through, what feels like a multi-day course in order to be able to do it correctly.
Right. Yeah. I remember when I first started the birth hour 10 years ago, talking to a lot of different car seat technicians and stuff. And I can't remember what the statistic was, but it was very high for the amount of car seats that are installed incorrectly. And it kind of just blew my mind. And I feel like we were being told to take them to like fire stations at that point. And the firefighters really had no idea, they were as good as my husband was at putting it in. I'm sure some of them were great, but it was really overwhelming. And
It is, yes.
I think my daughter was almost a year old before I had even installed a car seat myself because it was just too overwhelming, too hard. Too heavy, I just was like, this is your job.
Completely. And that's exactly how I got into it, was truly, we did absolutely, again, everything wrong. The infant car seat that I had selected was the one that my best friend had and said it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out, I bought the exact same one. We proceeded to attempt to install it. I was very pregnant. So again, it was like, all right, Heavy, this is on your plate.
It's very hard when you're pregnant.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And he had installed it, obviously incorrectly, in the sedan that he had at the time, and it was moving all over the place. And I said, I know what to do to fix this. So my grandmother is amazing and still with us, which is fantastic. And she has an absolute love for all things home goods, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, you name it, things like that. That is her jam. So she had bought us all of the aftermarket accessories that at that point in time I didn't know were not safe and not approved by car seat manufacturers. So I got out this very nice, thick, sticky mat and put it under my car seat and figured, hey, look, I fixed it.
Yeah.
So we did the same thing. We swung by our local fire station because I was under the impression that they were the ones you went to.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out, I found out later on that they were not certified. They had no idea what they were doing beyond just being very well intentioned and said, everything looks great. Good luck. See you, next time.
Yeah.
So we at least figured out we had done everything wrong before my son arrived. But really, that was kind of what lit that fire within me to learn more, to do better, was knowing that I had gotten it so wrong about something that really, again, is really meant to potentially save their life.
Right. Yeah. And you just, until it's time for you to be in that position, you really have no idea how complicated it is, how many rules there are and things that you can mess up. So I love that you guys, it sounds like part of Joy's really core mission is educating their customers on how to use them properly.
Absolutely. And that's really a large part of my role with the company too, is we have got an amazing team who really tries to put a lot of our safety education first. So we have got a lot of information out on our website. We've got a very active social media account. And even on our car seats, you can find QR codes that'll take you directly to installation videos. So you can really figure out the information you need to know.
Yeah, the videos are so helpful.
Our production team is absolutely wonderful. And they really, in my opinion, do the best job in the industry of really boiling it down to what you need to know and kind of the quick hit information. We've been including these kind of ready to ride checklists too at the end of our videos. So it's really the quick hit checklist of what you need to make sure is correct.
Yeah. So the first thing I did when I got my Joy Chili Spin 360, I think is the full name, was scan that QR code in the manual and watch a video.
Oh, perfect.
So let's talk a little bit about that particular car seat and what makes it so unique and really life-changing for parents.
Yes, Chili is absolutely one of my favorites. So really why it is so life-changing is because then you can rotate it toward you in order to get kiddo in and out of the seat. So really when I was having my younger kids, it was one of these things where it was almost a rite of passage, knowing that you were going to hit baby's head on the roof of the car as you were getting them into it. Yeah. It was one of those things that, it was like, oh yeah, you'll probably bonk their head on the roof. It's fine. But the thing that's so great is then this is really taking a lot of it out of that, especially when you are newly postpartum, trying to reach over everything to get child into the seat when they're potentially in the middle seat of your vehicle. It's a lot. So Chili is fabulous. It rotates a full 360 degrees. So you can rotate it toward you, get baby in, get them harnessed correctly. It's one of, I think, my favorite go-tos as well for when you're in that toddler stage, because it very quickly becomes apparent once your child gets a bit older that they are able to do either a reverse plank or what we always called the alligator death roll when trying to get into a car seat, where they just all of a sudden are somehow rotating. And it's like, how are you doing this?
I always called it like the floppy fish move, where they're just like, sorry, like I lost all control of my muscles.
Yes. It's amazing what toddlers can do when you're trying to, harness them into something and not have them move for a bit. So always the protest, but it really makes it a lot easier because you can lift them up, sit them right in. You might have to, karate chop them into place, but then everything else from there is pretty straightforward.
So much easier. And I think too, like you mentioned with the toddlers, like I think it makes it easier for them to crawl in on their own and have a little bit more autonomy, because they're not going to get the seat all filthy, like climbing all over it. They're just really getting up and getting in.
Right. Yes. No, it's been really, really well liked thus far out there, which is great. And I've got to give a shout out too with our install method. So really, Joy, again, we try and keep things consistent. So for instance, the infant inserts on all of our product come out at 11 pounds, period. And we have got lock-offs built into all of our different seats. So the great thing about that means that you can use the seatbelt to install the seat, and then you don't have to mess with figuring out how to lock your seatbelt. All you have to do is put it under our lock-off arm, you close it to make sure that you've got less than an inch of movement, and you are good to go.
Yeah, the install was really simple. Once I watched the video, I was like, oh, okay, there's this lock arm, and I hadn't seen that before. And it was really easy to do, though, once I saw. The other thing I wanted to mention is just like the little details. The loops on the side, like if you're not driving and you can pull up a picture of the Joy Chili right now, guys, do, because this is genius. I haven't seen it before, but there's little loops on the sides, and you tuck the prongs of the buckle into them in order to keep the strap out of the way while you put baby in, which is so genius. Because like you were saying, when they're flopping around, and then the buckle gets under them, and then you're trying to pull the buckle out and they're squirming. And in Texas, that buckle gets so hot. And that was also a really big concern for me. So you're literally getting those completely out of the way until you're ready to buckle in. And it's such an easy addition that I can't believe I haven't seen before.
Yeah, no, we like that a lot because really it seems always when they're itty bitty and then when they're older and mobile, you seem to always feel like you need a third hand getting a child into a car seat. So it is, again, us just trying to make life easier and really take some of the complications out of parenting.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about, to my husband, I would be like, this is like putting the seat down when you're done. I want you to always put these things in the loops so that when it's my turn to put the baby in, it's ready to go.
Yes.
And then the cup holders were the other little detail. They're attached. There's 2 of them. That's amazing because I'm still finding random cup holders that went to one of our car seats in the trunk or something. Like they're useless if they can just be pulled out by the baby, but they're so helpful to have when they work.
Yes, absolutely. It's one of those things that, again, we always call it a road trip essential when you're in the car, but every toddler too, they always want to have something nearby them. It is a constant thing. It's funny. My kids are sitting in our basal booster nowadays in my car, but we still have got those cup holders. Those ones on the booster actually hide away too. So it's something, again, that's very consistent across our Joy product is having features like that make life easier for you, for your child, and also shout out for how easy these things are to clean.
Okay, good. That was going to be my question.
Yes. No, it always feels like, there's some type of pouch that's going to explode into a cup holder sooner than later.
Yes. Yeah. Because for all the design things we come up with, I swear like every sippy cup finds a way to leak too.
Yeah.
Okay. And then as far as like stages and longevity of it, this thing rear facing 40 pounds, but forward facing up to 65 pounds. Is that right?
Yes. 65 pounds or 49 inches will get them to forward facing. Yes.
That's awesome. And with the forward facing, can you just use the 360 option and just spin it to forward, or is it a different install for that?
It is the exact same install. The only thing you've got to do is add in what we call our top tether.
Okay.
So that's on the back of the base there. Yeah. That's the one thing that you need for really all forward facing seats. But otherwise, you don't have to learn a different installation method. It is exactly the same. Add that top tether in once you are ready to turn child to forward facing. But again, you can use the same rotation You don't have to worry about hoisting baby up into the car and bunking them on the roof of it anymore. We can rotate it, get kiddo in, get them harnessed, turn them forward facing, make sure that turn lock indicator is green, and you are good to go.
That's awesome. Well, there's so much to love about this seat. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to mention?
I have at least got to give a shout out to our soft goods team.
Oh, okay.
I think, obviously I'm a bit biased because I know all of these people, but I think they do a wonderful job. Really, when you feel the fabrics that are on our seats,
yeah, it's really soft.
It's really soft. They've got cushioning, and even in our booster and underneath of a child who's older, I will tell you, as somebody with a bony child, they are also still going to be complaining later on in life.
Yeah.
So they really have put a lot of thought into the feel of these fabrics as well as how great they look. We definitely have got a lot of that European styling influencing how we design our product.
Yeah, they're really sleek.
Exactly. And they feel great. And I will tell you, any liquid spilled on them tends to bead up fairly quickly. So usually
nice.
If you're quick with the napkins, you can get any liquid off of it pretty darn quickly before it's soaking in, which is always a nice to have.
That's awesome. Yeah, it looks super cozy. My youngest is under 65 pounds, so I'm like tempted to put him in there, but it's going to go to my nephew for long-term use. But yeah, it looks super cozy. So that makes, life easier when your baby's comfortable for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, then I did want to mention, since this is coming out on April 29th, that Target has their car seat trade-in event going on through May 10th. So you can take in an old car seat, get 20% off of a new car seat or a baby gear item, and that's through Target. But then there's also an additional 10% off from Joy. Is that right?
That's correct. Not to mention, Target then will recycle your car seat trade-in for you. So big shout out for
that's huge.
Not only doing something good with a product that you are done with, but yes, the car seat trade-in is a great opportunity to upgrade to the next seat. Or if you've got something that just is not able to be cleaned any further, something like that doesn't fit in a current vehicle, it's a great opportunity to get a new seat at a great price.
Yeah, I love that they offer that. I always forget about it, so I'm glad that I'm getting this reminder as well, because I think there might be a couple booster seats in my garage that need to be taken to the recycling event.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Claire, for chatting with me today. It was so great to, get all the inside intel about this car seat and just Joy Baby in general. I'm really excited that you guys are here in the States now.
Thank you so much. It has been wonderful to talk. And yes, please go check out our product in store at your local Target now.
Thank you so much again to Claire for talking with me about Joy and for sharing her birth story. If you guys want to take advantage of the trade-in event at Target, just take in an old car seat. You'll get the 20% off coupon from Target, and then all of Joy's products are 10% off during the trade-in event. So you can do that online or in store, and it goes through May 10th. So take advantage of it now. If you want more information from Claire's episode, head over to thebirthhour.com and just search for her name in the search bar to find her show notes page.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, head to thebirthhour.com and click Become a Member to pledge your support. And as a thank you, you'll get an invitation to join our private Facebook group and access to exclusive episodes. Your vote of confidence and support means the world to me.